Richard Tarling is the man who has the honour of starting round one of the Formula Parma Audi Championship from pole position at Croft, having just pipped his Finnish rival Topi Sörjälä by a couple of thousandths of a second in the dying minutes of a thoroughly exciting qualifying session. They're the two front row men, behind them in third quickest, Darren Turner, and alongside him, Justin Wilson, ex-Formula Vauxhall driver, in fourth. Jonathan Palmer and the whole crew have worked so hard to get this championship together, and the man himself, I'm sure, with thoroughly bitten fingernails, ready for the first championship race. The non-championship round at Oulton Park produced great racing, and Jonathan Palmer's category should hopefully do the same here at Croft. A good clean start from the front row men, fifth place on the grid, a little slow away, but we look back from the pole man at second place Topi Sörjälä as they all surge into Turbo for the first time at collision. Justin Wilson and Darren Turner are out. Wilson's white car and Darren Turner colliding, and Damien Faulkner finding his way through stationary vehicles, trying to feed in all the power of his Audi Turbo as it comes on song. There is Justin Wilson. Well, the rangy lad from Leeds out of the car. Darren Turner also very firmly off into the barriers at the first corner. That's no way for them to start their series. Damien Faulkner now on the move. He really is looking very feisty indeed in the number 8. Picks up the place from Colombian Nessim Kassem as Justin Wilson stalks away from his wrecked car. Tarling and Sörjälä are through. Giuliano Moro is third in his white car. Stephen White is in fourth place from Justin Keane. And the two yellow cars here, a Brazilian battle. 9 is Giuliano Pilgallo. He's got C. Suzanne right behind him. Damien Faulkner now chasing Daniel Draw, the American driver. Falls out of the slipstream under acceleration and goes by under braking as number 19, Mads Gisselbeck, gets onto the grass. Dane, who lives in Scotland, has been out of a race cockpit for almost 2 years. Being a little rusty perhaps. Richard Tarling, no such problems for him though. Topi Sörjälä close to him in second place, and then Moro with White right behind. The blue car of Keane, the red car of Peter Clark ahead of Martin Smith, and then the number 22 machine of Shinju Nakazawa. So the Japanese in 8th at the tail of this little group. Now Richard Tarling has managed to stabilise his advantage over Topi Sörjälä, and the move, if anywhere, looks to be coming from Stephen White, the fourth place man, who's right behind Giuliano Moro and has been haranguing him right from the word go. Let's have a look again at the first corner. Darren Turner in the dark car, Justin Wilson in the white machine. Contact, neither of them able to bring it up short of the barriers. So the leaders still with their little margin, but Giuliano Moro under pressure from Stephen White, and White has got a damaged nose ring, but worse though for Moro. That collision has left him with a punctured left rear tyre, and now he knows all about it. Luckily it's right at the end of the lap, and he'll dart straight into the pits and out of the cockpit. And C. Suzanne making a move on Daniel Draw. Oh dear, Draw grabs his head as C. Suzanne bounces over the top. The Brazilian ladies in the barriers. Daniel Draw's car wrecked at the back, as you can see. Well, I don't think he was hit on the head by the flying car. He certainly had his heads up in that instinctive protective gesture. Well, he's not going into the pits, so Daniel Draw continues, but without a rear wing, the car won't be very effective. C. Suzanne perfectly okay. And Giuliano Pilgallo is fighting hard to hold on to his position, but Faulkner had the inside line and makes it through. Carl Breeze nearly picking up a place there as well, as we look back and see Daniel Draw being used as a vaulting horse by C. Suzanne, just making the tiniest of contact initially as they both braked for the right-hander. And once her front wheels were off the ground, there was no stopping it. So Tarling and Sörjälä first and second, and oh, a puff of smoke was the white car. 99, Ian James takes 7th place from Martin Smith. Smith tries to fight back, but Ian James has made that place his own, and that's great driving from 13th on the grid. Damien Faulkner now in 11th place. He's chasing Andy Booth right ahead of him. So Faulkner going for 10th place, and he qualified 24th after problems in practice. Damien Faulkner is having a great race. Down to Clairvaux, the first complex of corners they come, and he is so close under braking. Damien Faulkner really has got himself sorted out in this chassis, and no end of bravery there to take the place away. So Damien Faulkner goes up into 10th place. The red car of Peter Clark defending hard because he's got Ian James right behind him now. James going for a top 6 finish. Well, Richard Tarling's going for the top step of the podium, but not if Topi Sergio can do anything about it. The Finn is chasing very hard indeed. Of course, all these cars, identical Van Diemen chassis, identical Audi turbocharged engines, and control tyres to make the racing as close as possible, and it can't get closer than this. Stephen White defends against Justin Keane and Peter Clark and Ian James, but White makes a mistake. Oh, big lock of tyre smoke from Ian James as Stephen White comes back across his nose there, but the leader continues. Topi Sergio is closing though, and with such equal machinery, the drivers really get to show their ability. Well, there is the group behind, and Ian James has disappeared from it. He should have been right ahead of the black and yellow car of Martin Smith, but he's had his nose taken off as Stephen White came back onto the track, and he'll have to go into the pits for a new one. So, Justin Keane now in 3rd place from Peter Clark. Then, well, Martin Smith in the number 5 machine is swapping positions all over the place, making some up and losing some. Still behind Felipe Malui, who's the number 8, Damien Faulkner, as the leaders are very, very close together now. Well, only 0.02 of a second separated these men in qualifying trim, and now as the race goes on to its final lap, Topi Sergio wants to make that gap even smaller by taking the lead. He's on the outside line, and Richard Tarling defends his lead. Well, a good try by Topi Sergio. I don't expect that'll be the last one on this final lap of Croft. He needs to get this little flick right onto the next straight. Oh, and a big slide! Very, very crossed up through the chicane he went there. He's got it back off the grass, but look how much distance he's lost. Stephen White, the orange car, with Martin Smith behind him. Then Nakazawa and Malui. Faulkner's there as well. And let's have a look again as he rides the car over the curbs. Big handful of opposite lock there to get it back. Straightens it up, nice and gently over the grass. Keeps control. That could have been a very high-speed spin. But I think that may have decided the race. Stephen White in the orange car is 5th. Martin Smith is 6th behind him, trying to find a way past. But into the final corner, Richard Tarling comes out ahead of Topi Sergio. He will win the first championship race of the Formula Parma Audi Series from the Finn, a very close second behind him. So victory for Tarling, 2nd for Sergio, 3rd for Justin Keane, 4th for Peter Clark, and anybody's guess who's going to come out of this one in 5th place. But it looks as though Stephen White will just hold on from Martin Smith and Shinya Nakazawa just behind him. Well, it's hard to tell who's happier here, Richard Tarling or Jonathan Palmer. Both have got plenty to be pleased about. Tarling the winner and, of course, the championship leader after round 1, and Formula Parma Audi is go.
For round 2, the championship travelled to Norfolk. The Snetterton circuit seeing the normal quota of slipstreaming and outbraking attempts at the S's.
Off goes Justin Wilson and off goes Andy Booth as well. Will Booth stop? It just doesn't come to a halt. So Justin Wilson and Andy Booth both out there, I would think. Andy Booth has certainly abandoned ship. Justin Wilson is going to take what remains of the front end of his car with him back to the pits, I think. Nakazawa makes a mistake under braking at the end of the lap. He goes across the gravel. He somehow holds it together, loses the place though. Drops 2 in fact because Justin Keane and Richard Tarling went past him, and number 5 Martin Smith is alongside. They're still trying to move Andy Booth's car. That looks to be firmly wedged. View back now at number 11 Darren Turner. Martin Smith alongside Turner. He didn't quite get past Shinya Nakazawa. So the leader, Topi Sergio from Finland, Richard Tarling 2nd, Justin Keane 3rd from Great Britain, then Nakazawa, and right behind him 5 cars, Martin Smith, Darren Turner, Peter Clark, Stephen White, and the yellow car of Damien Faulkner. Faulkner from 4th on the grid, of course, down in 9th now. There he is, hanging around at the back of this group as they go, not quite 4 abreast, but certainly 2 by 2 into the S's. Well, this is very close racing indeed. Car on the inside of the circuit now, firmly abandoned there, I think, for the rest of the race. Toby Sergilo really starting to ease out a gap from Richard Tarling. Now Tarling and Justin Keane, the third place man, will need to get their heads down and start chasing the Finn. Not worry about each other, not worry about the cars behind them. And Marshall there bravely retrieving Justin Wilson's nose. So just as well, Justin Wilson knows his way around this circuit. He's just got a slap on the head from his bodywork. And as you can see, visibility is somewhat reduced from that. He made it safely back to the pits despite that. There is 17, Stephen White, Damien Faulkner right behind him. They're 8th and 9th. And in 10th place is number 66, Bjorn Wertheim. There he is in the rainbow-coloured car, just behind Damien Faulkner. Reminiscent a little bit of Jeff Gordon's NASCAR car. That's perhaps no surprise, because Jeff Gordon's sponsored by DuPont paint finishers, and they supply the paint for Formula Palmer Audi, so perhaps there's a little bit of family resemblance there as well. Toby Sergilo still leading, Damien Faulkner getting very sideways at the S's. Oh, and another of the yellow cars goes off, number 9 that is, Giuliano Bilgallo. 19, Mats Gisselberg. Oh, and 66, Bjorn Wertheim as well. They came out of the S's side by side. They've both gone off at the bomb hole. Wertheim was on the inside and Gisselberg was on the outside of the S's. And they've lost it together. 14, the red car of Edward Redfern, under pressure from Felipe Malui behind him, the 77 machine, and under the silver cars, as Mats Gisselberg gets it back into gear, and off he goes. There is Martin Brundle, ex-Grand Prix driver, Norfolk resident, and the driving force behind the career of Carl Breeze, in the number 10 machine, currently running just inside the top 12. Breeze, like Brundle, a local boy. Number 7 there, Justin Keane. Third place, but Shinya Nakazawa is now right back with him in 4th, and a little gap back to Martin Smith as Felipe Malui goes off. Well, his chase of Edward Redfern has led him astray there, I'm afraid. Redfern made it round the first corner safely. Malui outbraked himself in an overtaking manoeuvre. The Brazilian doesn't look entirely happy with himself over that one. Shinya Nakazawa braving it out down the inside of Justin Keane under the bridge at the end of the Revit straight, and under braking he went past. A good move. It will be very handy to see these cars swapping places. The whole point of the Formula Palmer Audi category was to give drivers equal machinery, but cars that would allow them to run close together and hopefully overtake. Jonathan, having been a Grand Prix driver and commentator with very strong ideas about what to do about the dearth of overtaking in top single-seater categories, and this is putting his money where his mouth is. Toby Sergilo leading then from Richard Tarling. Tarling won the first championship race of this new series from pole position at Croft in North Yorkshire. He's now running in 2nd place to Toby Sergilo, the man who started 2nd at Croft and finished 2nd at Croft. Behind Shinya Nakazawa now you can see Justin Keane. The dark car behind him is Darren Turner, closing fast on that little loop. And there is the number 10 machine of Carl Breeze. The camera's watching him, as Martin Brundle will be doing. Nakazawa then 22, ahead of Justin Keane, and the other dark car there, the black car of Darren Turner, number 11. Turner closing down Justin Keane at the moment, concentrating more on Nakazawa and the hope of getting 3rd place back. The leaders go through again. Toby Sergilo leading from number 1 there, Richard Tarling, and those two concentrating purely on ideal racing lines and fastest lap times as the leader tries to break away and the man in 2nd place tries to stop him. Brazilian lady C. Suzanne, forced out of the first round by accident damage, qualified 23rd at Snetterton and will go on to finish 15th, the best improver, picking up 8 places in her race. A good day for her. The battle for 3rd place continues. Nakazawa goes through, and Peter Clark in the number 3 machine now starting to close up. He's in 6th place, closing down Darren Turner. The leader now definitely starting to pull away from Richard Tarling. Tarling not quite getting the S's right there either, so that will be another couple of tenths he's lost. Under braking, Stephen White goes past Martin Smith. Good manoeuvre there, and Damien Faulkner now hoping to do the same. Well, one more lap to go, and Justin Keane, who was 3rd at Croft, the number 7 machine there, maybe he will get another chance at 3rd place here, but I don't think Shinya Nakazawa is really close enough for him to try it. Perhaps more on Keane's mind will be defending his 4th place from Darren Turner. The leader, Topi Sergio from Finland, going on to his final lap. Snetterton, Richard Tarling behind him, still in 2nd place, and that position really safe, I think, for both of them. Tarling not able to pressure the leader, so Sergio really just needs to keep his head clear and concentrate on the job in hand to take his first victory in the Formula Parma Audi Series, and that'll be 2 races, 2 winners. So Sergio in 1st place, Richard Tarling similarly really under pressure for 2nd. He'll have to throw it away for Shinya Nakazawa to step up a place on the podium. But Nakazawa should be firmly there in 3rd place. That's officially in a championship that uses Audi motive power. 3 silver cars leading the field. I wonder if there's something in the paint. We'll have to wait and see whether the colours change on other cars for the next round. Sergio Tarling and Shinya Nakazawa are the top 3 then. Victory for the Finn, his first time in the Formula Parma Audi Series. And 2nd place for Richard Tarling. They do go joint top of the championship. Shinya Nakazawa takes 3rd from Justin Keane, as Martin Brundle is on hand to present the awards to the winner, the 2nd and the 3rd place men. And Jonathan Palmer with a big smile on his face, as well he might do. The championship looks to be going now from strength to strength. Confirmation then of that top 6 finishing position, and the championship looks like this. Good news for Palmer.
Round 3 at Brands Hatch, part 1 of a double-header. And Justin Keane and Richard Tarling were on the tail of leader Darren Turner in the early laps. Justin Wilson had been forced to fight his way through the field in the white and red number 6 car after a disastrous start. The battle for 2nd was intense.
Richard Tarling goes down the inside, and he's made contact. His nose wing went under the rear wheel of Justin Keane's darker blue machine. Keane's still going in 2nd place. And look, Danny's left front wing. That's very bad news indeed for Richard Tarling. Even on a circuit like this Brands Hatch Indy course that doesn't require a huge amount of downforce, will really affect the handling badly. See the way it washes out in the corner. Look again, he's going down the inside. Justin Keane turns in, tries to make the apex, thinks there's more room than there is perhaps. Well, Richard Tarling, bad news for him, I'm afraid. Bad news too for Stephen White. That's the Australian driver whose car started the season orange. He's had an altercation with the paint factory on a new paint job on the car to link up with his sponsorship deal. And there through the shot went Bjorn Wertheim in his very multicoloured car, and that is Martin Smith being passed there by the number 6 machine. So Justin Wilson has now got past Smith, who went off on the first lap, remember. 24, Giuliano Moro at the head of this group has also got a crunch nose wing, and that means everybody else will be queuing up behind him. Look, it's almost been ripped off the car as he's run into the back of somebody at speed. Well, that won't be helping him much. Here they come then, this group, the 10 to 20 positions. Topi Sergio, number 4, haranguing the back of Sam Hancock, newcomer to the series, young Sam. Just 18 years old, raced in Formula Vauxhall Junior last year, came 10th in the championship, and this is a big step up in power and performance for him. Wheels interlocking there as Bjorn Wertheim goes around the outside of 99 Ian James, now down the hill on the inside line, and picks up the position. He is now the next closest chaser to Giuliano Moro at the head of that bunch. Here are the leaders though. Turner and Keane, 1st and 2nd. 3rd place, it's Nakazawa. Then the 2 red cars, Redfern and Clark. Edward Redfern with that distinctive yellow helmet. It's almost like a Scale Electric car I once owned. Peter Clark right behind him, and again Bjorn Wertheim looking to make a move on Giuliano Moro. Put himself well up into the top 10 positions, and a problem there for Martin Smith. Very nearly lost it under brakes as he tried to avoid taking off his nose wing. We've seen that happen several times now. The number 6 on the move as well. Justin Wilson really starting to push himself up the order as again this challenge on Sam Hancock. Topi Sergio's inside him this time. No, he's not. Hancock driving with a maturity beyond his years, no question about it. There's Brazil's C. Suzanne, number 27. Their own little battle for positions. They go 3 abreast. Fantastic stuff as he threads the eye of the needle. Oh, fantastic. The number 6 machine straight through the middle. Justin Wilson, a good move by him. Still no luck for Bjorn Wertheim getting into the head of this group. Now Wilson is right behind Sergio. And interesting to see that without the boost buttons, the reverse grids or anything else, drivers that have won races in these cars are already having to fight their way back up the order just because of the vagaries of qualifying. Suzanne spins at the hairpin at Druids. Hopefully she'll be out of the way. She's not. When the leaders arrive, hopefully she will stay exactly where she is. She will have to now until the whole field goes by. And here again, number 24, really defending hard. Giuliano Moro, the Brazilian driver, coming up to the hill to see his countrywoman still parked on the apex. The yellow flags are fluttering. No, she's gone to the outside. This time everybody gets to use the racing line on the tight right-hander at the top of the hill. She rejoins. Chastened, but with the car all in one piece. The leaders, meanwhile, such is the pace of this track, coming around again to the checkered flag. It couldn't be closer between Turner and Keane, but Darren Turner wins round 3 of Formula Parma Audi from Justin Keane. This battle will go all the way to the checkered flag. Everybody hoping to pick something up here. Giuliano Moro is 6th. Ian James is 7th. Bjorn Wertheim will be 8th. Across the line, Justin Wilson goes to 9th from last on the grid. There must be some improvers awarding that surely ahead of Sam Hancock. There's the winner, Darren Turner, getting the trophy from Jonathan Palmer. He's got a few of those at home. Indeed, both of them have. Justin Keane 2nd then from Shinya Nakazawa. Edward Redfern a great 4th, his best result of the year so far. And Keane now the championship leader. A first for Formula Parma Audi, a first for a major British single-seater championship, a rolling start, round 4 of the series at Brands Hatch. Richard Tarling and Justin Keane on the front row of the grid. Topi Sergila and Justin Wilson right behind. Wilson stalled from 5th place at the standing start. Hopefully they will all get away without any stalls this time. So the pace car is out of the way, but they are under orders not to accelerate until they see the green. And then, goodness me, the whole field is side by side down to the first corner. What a magnificent sight for the spectators at that first corner. Paddock Hill Benders, everybody swoops in. And Martin Smith, as we rode with him there, gives you some idea of just how congested it is. It's always difficult starting from the back of a field at a standing start because you're at full speed as the leaders are standing on the brakes at the first corner. But in a rolling start, everybody should theoretically be accelerating at roughly the same rate. So that means that there shouldn't be so much carnage. Somebody has gone off at the bottom of Graham Hill Bend, but that looks inconsequential, especially to Richard Tarling. He is leading this race. Justin Wilson right behind him in 2nd place. Let's ride though with Martin Smith. He qualified 15th on the grid. We saw what it looked like on lap 1. This is what it looks like on lap 2. There he is, nearest the camera, trying to go around the outside of Bjorn Wertheim. Wertheim qualified 10th, incidentally. So somebody has gone forwards or somebody has gone backwards up the grid. Smith didn't get a chance to go past there. Inside at Druids, oh dear! No, look down by his mirror there. You can see the front wing flapping away. And he misjudged that gap. Wertheim turned in across his front wing. So Smith will have a problem now. Tarling leads then from Wilson, Turner and Nakazawa. Then Giuliano Moro, there he is with Justin Keane behind him. There's Justin Keane in the middle of the shot, number 7. Topi Sergila, number 4. Right behind him, then the 2 red cars. That's Redfern and Clark. And something going on. Yellow flags are waved into the gravel. Mats Gisselbeck and upside down in the track, number 18. That's Andrew Booth, the New Zealander, already trying to struggle from the car as it's trying to come to a halt. And he's undone the belts and he's whirling out of that hole as well you might expect. Upside down in a race car with fuel, oil, hot exhausts. Dear, well, Mats Gisselbeck in the gravel there and Andrew Booth upside down, so yellow flags very certainly as they come out of Clearways and onto the start-finish line. And no, predictably enough, red flags. You really can't continue racing with cars upside down in the middle of the track. So another first for Formula Parma Audi, a red flag to stop the race. Well, there's testament to the strength of these chassis built by Van Diemen. And who's that? Car number 10, Carl Breeze, without a rear wing and with tyre marks up the back. Well, we'll need to have a look at the footage again and see exactly what happened there if we can. Let's take a look at it from the reverse angle. You can see Carl Booz's white car at the bottom of the picture there, although obviously your attention is rather distracted by Andrew Booth. So it looks as though he will have gone up over the back of one or other of the cars. Mats Gisselbeck on the outside. It's possible that he might have caused that initially with a bit of a problem. Well, problems on the rolling start as well. You could see liquid on Martin Smith's visor. 3 or 4 cars at the back of the field being caught out as cars ahead of them slow down. But look at that start up by the camera on the uphill side by car number 6, Justin Wilson. Well, I don't know whether he watches IndyCar races regularly, but any IndyCar driver worthy of the name would be proud to have made a restart like that one. Fantastic getaway from Wilson. Let's hope that the stewards don't decide he got away before they wanted to. So the field will re-juggle itself then with Martin Smith. No liquid on the lens now, and you can see the clear blue sky with a little fluffy covering of white clouds. There shouldn't be any water coming out of the cars at this early stage, perhaps just a little bit from the overflow as they were heating up, running around below racing temperatures on that pace lap. Nothing to worry about, I don't think. No, you could see a couple of the cars already with nose wing damage, and that looks to be, I think, perhaps one of the big rules of Formula Parma Audi already. Don't rub your nose wing up the wrong way, because it doesn't help, even at Brands Hatch. Just behind Topi Circular, it's in fact Nakazawa who's got his nose wing awry. And somebody goes off, that's the Colombian driver, Nessim Kassem, number 28. And that is firmly beached. There is Nakazawa with that nose wing knocked up in the air. Still get some front end grip, of course, from the tyres and from the remaining aerodynamic effects. But Justin Wilson leading now from Richard Tarling. Both these men have won in these cars. Wilson, the non-championship Oldham race, and Tarling at Croft. And there is Nakazawa under pressure from Giuliano Moro, number 24 machine, white car behind him. And off goes number 7, Justin Keane. I don't think that's coming back. Keane has other ideas though. What a great rally crossing drive there through the gravel and out the other side. The Parma the Series originator has rallycrossed here in the British Rallycross Grand Prix. I'm sure he won't appreciate people doing it with his cars, however. Meanwhile, here's the leader, Justin Wilson, Richard Tarling right behind him then, Darren Turner in 3rd place, Clark in 4th, then Ian James, and he's got Sergio behind him now, so Bernheimer's dropped back a place into 7th place, and it looks as though Sergio is not content with 6th either. 99 Ian James, the white car, under pressure as Justin Wilson tries to edge away the 2 men who are chasing him so convincingly at the moment, and down the grass on the inside, he's lost it. Just coming up to the braking area. Oh dear, Sam Hancock. Well, that really was a little bit of a beginner's error. He found himself edged over onto the inside grass on the run up to Druitt, and he's out of the race. Martin Smith can't get rid of a tear off. Martin, braking area, as see Suzanne from wonderful Rio City gets herself pointing back in the right direction. And here is her countryman, Phil Gallo, under pressure from our rallycross expert, Justin Keane. Keane fighting back after losing a handful of places going through the gravel there, didn't quite get the position. Martin Smith is really being bugged by that tear-off. Don't take him back in the cockpit. Concentrate on where you're going, as Richard Tarling is, but it's not helping him much. He's losing out to Justin Wilson, the leader. In the closing stages now, Topi Circular with a last gasp effort to hold on to 7th place. 24, Giuliano Moro attacking hard. He looks to the outside, he's covered, he goes up the inside. Oh, and he's in the air! He rode straight over the wheels of Topi Circular's car, flew up into the air and across into the gravel. Well, that's his race over. He won't see the checkered flag. Giuliano Moro, the Brazilian, out of the car, banged his knee. The shortest of drivers, so I'm going to rattle around in the cockpit a bit. Topi Circular looks to have continued, but Justin Wilson wins his 2nd race in a Formula Parma Audi car. This time it counts for championship points. And Edward Redfern in the red car with the yellow helmet, fighting off Martin Smith. This is for 12th. They've got about 300 metres to go into the final furlong, and Edward Redfern holds it to the line. He gets 12th position, Martin Smith 13th there. Well, victory then for Justin Wilson, and look at the way he stands head and shoulders above the others. Doesn't need any podium steps to do that. That's his natural height advantage. Wilson then the winner from Tarling, Turner and Clark. And the fourth and fifth at Brands throw Clark into the championship lead as Keane plunges from points leader to sixth.
The picturesque circuit of Donington Park was the venue for round 5. Damien Faulkner held a massive lead from Turner, Wilson and Bjorn Verdheim. Behind championship contender Topi Sergula was struggling further down the field.
And Topi Sergula continuing to battle up the order. Now he really does have to be very judicious with his use of the boost. There he is, car number 4. We'll ride with him once more. Down the long, fast Wheatcroft straight, the main straight at Donington Park. Up to maximum revs, then braking, changing down twice and an accident ahead. Oh, a very spectacular shunt ahead of him. While Sergula works his way past Carl Breeze, the white car, but it looked as though that was the yellow machine. It was, of Mats Gisselbeck, and the Dane flung into a very spectacular roll there. Across the grass goes Justin Keane, holds onto it though. Shinya Nakazawa battling here with car number 3. Peter Clark, championship leader. Let's have a look again. Mats Gisselbeck there in the yellow car and Carl Breeze in the white machine making contact under braking for Redgate. And a spectacular roll there. Fortunately, no injury at all for Mats Gisselbeck. So the Palmer Audi cars not only quick, rewarding, but safe as well for the drive. 6 and 66, Wilson and Wertheim, 3rd and 4th, chasing Turner and Faulkner. And down to the chicane, oops. Giuliano Moro, the Brazilian, gyrates as he tries to make an apex, approaching a little too fast. And rejoins safely. Justin Wilson then, car number 6, right down the Craner curves with him. Smoothly now across to the apex, braking and changing down at the same time for the old hairpin, a 4th gear corner using all the curves. And now moving over to an apex there under the bridge. And again looking to a late apex here on the left-hander, changing down once more into McLean's, and then over the curbs, picking up a gear, accelerating into this blind turn in at Coppice. He's very, very close indeed to the tail now of number 11. Darren Turner is really going to be under pressure here. Will he use the boost button? He'll have to wait until he's in the gear he wants and then maybe give it the go. Yes, you saw his thumb on the wheel there and it got him alongside and into an overtaking position on the braking area. And very graphic example there of just how the system works. Line yourself up, get as close as you can with the power that you have available to you normally, and then just a press on the button to get you into a position to make that outbraking manoeuvre. And that is the sort of thing that Jonathan Palmer will have been hoping to see. Oh, and Ed Moore getting it wrong at exactly the same place. That's Goddard's just outbraking himself there on the inside. And oh, Giuliano Pilagallo, number 9, straight into him. And he's actually resting on Ed Moore's head. But you can see that Moore is moving, so no injury, but goodness me, I expect he'll need to change his underwear after that one. Giuliano Pilagallo wisely jumping out and straight around to see if Ed Moore is okay, which fortunately he is. Well, that was an example there of the overtaking manoeuvre that we saw Justin Wilson making that didn't quite work. Ed Moore coming in just a little too hot into the corner there. Well, Pilagallo and the marshals helping to take the car off his head, thanks very much. And Ed Moore probably lucky that he's about 5'4" as opposed to about 6'4" like Justin Wilson, with his head suitably low down in the cockpit. And there he is, both drivers uninjured. Pilagallo really in no position to avoid that. He came in trying to make an overtaking manoeuvre and found the road full. So Wilson with Turner behind him, Wertheim, and then number 17 right with them, Stephen White. The black and yellow checkered flag is out, and that means regard this as not a race any longer. Pretend that there is a safety car out on the circuit, slow right down because marshals are working very close to the racing line. Well, here we have Ed Moore stranded in the middle of the circuit, Giuliano Pilagallo locked up and trying to find a way past, and didn't quite manage to find it, did he? Damien Faulkner about to take the green flag to restart racing. Where is everybody else? Well, they are absolutely miles away. Well, we hadn't seen Damien Faulkner for a while, but I don't believe he really had that amount of a lead before the black and yellow flag came out. Now everybody else is in close company, line astern, so they certainly have been crawling round. And now all those hard-fought positions once more come under threat. Wertheim hugging the grass on the right-hand side in the rainbow-coloured car, number 66, to hold off Stephen White. Well, I don't think there is any chance now of this group catching Damien Faulkner. Whatever speed he thought was acceptably slow during the black and yellow period, certainly everybody else was going considerably less fast than that. So we're now looking really at a battle effectively for second place. And that's held by number 6, Justin Wilson. Behind him, the black car, number 11, Darren Turner, then Bjorn Wertheim and Stephen White. Then a little group, and there is the next of the silver cars, Tarling and Malui, nose to tail. They've got championship leader Peter Clark right behind them, and it looks as though he's going to make a move on Malui. Tear-off visor being thrown out of the cockpit very elaborately there by Darren Turner, and Bjorn Wertheim perhaps already had his finger on the button but decided that he might have used that opportunity anyway as an overtaking manoeuvre. That perhaps would have been a little bit of an opportunistic move. Seeing one hand off the wheel means that the driver ahead may not entirely be concentrating on his mirrors. And so Bjorn Wertheim moves past, and you can see right behind them Stephen White in the very multicoloured car, looking to make a move, and White all over the road down the Craner curves. He's got Richard Tarling right behind him. Does that mean that Darren Turner, the black machine, is starting to hold them up? Well, we'll see how quickly Wertheim is now able to catch this man. Second place, Justin Wilson. There's Wertheim third. White is in 5th place, and he really is pushing hard to try and get past Darren Turner. Turner, the black car. White's right behind him. Then Tarling and Malui, the 2 silver cars. Clark, the orange machine. Justin Keane some way back from them, the light blue and dark blue machine. Now let's see, what can Stephen White do here? Well, Turner moving across to the right-hand side of the roads, down the straight, and then back again just to cover the inside line. Have a look back, further down the field, that's Daniel Draw, heading off backwards into a firm resting place in the gravel, I think. Don't suppose that will be coming back out. So, still this battle here for 4th place. Darren Turner is 4th. Stephen White wants to be 4th. And White right behind him, the number 17, and locking of brakes behind shows how hard Richard Tarling is trying to stay in contention. Damien Faulkner, with coming on for half a lap's gap over everybody else, it seems. The cameraman can fairly much go to sleep once Faulkner has been passed before the rest of the leaders arrive. Down he comes then, along Starkey Straight for the final time. Through Goddard's, over the curbs, and the checkered flag awaits him. His first victory in Formula Parma Audi, and by the proverbial country mile, nearly 12 seconds behind him. Justin Wilson second, Wertheim third, then the battle for 4th place. Darren Turner and Stephen White. Richard Tarling in 6th position. Then Peter Clark in 7th place, the championship leader, ahead of Malui on that last lap. Justin Keane taking 9th from Andy Booth in 10th, Ian James 11th, Shinya Nakazawa dropping down to 12th, and Topi Circula taking 13th at the end. But there is the winner, Damien Faulkner, with Dr. Jonathan Palmer. He was formally reprimanded for driving too fast under the black and yellow flags, but he was allowed to keep his win. Bjorn Wertheim was dropped down into 4th place in the final order though, and this is why, under yellow flags at Goddard's, clearly held stationary yellow flags, that means the utmost caution. That does not mean you are now free to overtake your rivals. Bad boy Bjorn. Round 6 of this brand new championship. Topi Circula, the Finn, gets a good start, but alongside him, Damien Faulkner from Ireland in the green car gets a really good launch. So too around the outside, the multicoloured car of Bjorn Wertheim, the young Swede, making a good start, but we're looking back now from the poleman, the leader, and he looks determined to really break away from the rest of the field in this opening lap. Off goes Darren Turner, the black car on the outside after contact with Bjorn Wertheim. He was going around the outside of the Swede at Druids, and they touched on the way down the hill. Riding now with Giuliano Morro. He's in 4th place. You can just see ahead the leader starting to ease away And it really does look as though pole position man Topi Sergila has got his head down hard and he's charging away. Well, the Finn crosses the line a second ahead of Irishman Faulkner in second place. Third place is Richard Tarling, and fourth place, the fastest man in qualifying, Giuliano Moro. We ride now with Giuliano Moro, changing down, braking hard for Druids, holding it tight to the curb and feeding in the throttle on the way down the hill. Now he's determined not to let them get away, but Nassim Kassem there, Daniel Draw, number 20, getting involved as well as Kassem spins. And the other car just driving away was Sam Hancock, and he's got damaged. His rear wing is very much out of alignment. Well, beached in the gravel is the Colombian. He's staying in the car. If he gets pushed out, though, that'll be the end of his race. So the race over for Kassem, and it looks as though it may be over for all the others, because the man who started from the front of the grid, Topi Sergila, is really rushing away. And there at the bottom of the hill is Sam Hancock. He's out as well. Kassem's still in the gravel as we come round. Yellow flags out at Druid, so no overtaking there. There is the pole position man in fourth place, Giuliano Moro. Countryman Felipe Malui behind him, the silver car with the green wings. Then Bjorn Wertheim in the rainbow-coloured machine. He's holding down sixth position at the moment. That's where he started. Behind him, orange cars of Andrew Booth and Stephen White. Then Justin Keane, Justin Wilson, and in 11th place we just saw the American Roger Nakazawa. Black and yellow quartered flag visible on the right-hand side of the pit wall there as Giuliano Moro crossed the start-finish line. So no overtaking. The cars to slow down and continue in formation as if they were behind a pace car. Giuliano Moro having Felipe Malui lance up the inside there into Druids. He obviously didn't watch very well and spot the flags. Well, here's a replay of the incident that brought it all on. Kassem spins the silver car. Sam Hancock behind him with the blue side pods does manage to stop in time, but Daniel Draw doesn't, loses half his nose wing on the back of Hancock's car and causes Hancock enough damage that he retires at the bottom of the hill. Well, there goes Kassem, pushed out of the gravel by the marshals, but he'll be black flagged and taken off the racetrack. I'm afraid outside assistance not allowed. So Sergila leads them round. They're all ready to go again. He has everything to do once more this time, and the restart could be a tricky time. The green flags are ready. The drivers aren't being shown them yet. Riding with Giuliano Moro. All close to overtaking, needs to lift off. Now he sees the green. He goes around the outside. It's not going to happen for him. Oh, and he gets sandbagged as well. Felipe Malui, number 77, goes past him. There is the silver car ahead. And Moro drops to fifth at the restart. That'll be a disappointment. Now the first corner, Malui's already locked up. You have to be careful because the tyres aren't right up to operating temperature. Moro runs wide. Bjorn Wertheim nearly gets by him but runs out of road. And behind that, Andrew Booth, the orange machine, nearly gets his nose taken off as well. The battle for eighth, there is Stephen White, Justin Keane right behind him. Oh, and they're all very close there. Number 5 goes off. That's Martin Smith, heavily into the barriers. That'll be the end of the race for him. Well, I'm afraid 3 abreast there into McLaren was never going to work. Giuliano Moro now must be cursing silently under his breath, but he's got 20 laps to go to try and make up for that lost position and more. Martin Smith, his father Nigel, a Formula 3000 and touring car racer, and now turned GT racer, but Martin out of this one. Little lock up again there, that time from Stephen White, and a big slide around Druids. He's got a big problem. He's been passed by 4 cars. Roger Nakazawa on the outside on the grass. Nakazawa, the black car, goes out of shot, but he's lost it. And the dual nationality American-Japanese driver out of the race for sure there. And I'm certain as well that the Australian has gone by the board. Stephen White's car looked very, very unhealthy indeed. Well, it's very close everywhere except for Topi Sergila, again with about a 1 second lead out front. Ian James coming down the inside, number 99, trying to take a position from 7, Justin Keane, and he's got Justin Wilson behind him. Wilson looking around the outside as we go back. Further up the leaderboard, coming out of Druids. Here is the Colombian Kassem in the pits and out of the race, and out at paddock goes Ian James as well. Manages to hold on to it, but then spin turns in a little over elaborately. He's got going again. The battle for third, Richard Tarling in third. At the back of the group, Giuliano Moro there, the white car. Between the two of them, fellow Brazilian Felipe Malui. Let's ride with Morrow. Again, coming out of the final turn onto Brabham Straight at Brands Hatch, the quickest part of this Indy circuit. And down the inside, under braking, a great move from Felipe Malui. Very brave stuff. He sits alongside Richard Tarling. Tarling just has his nose ahead, and we ride with Morrow. Morrow trying to go down the inside as well. He saw the gap there opening up alongside Richard Tarling, and through he went. Well, there is the danger at Druids. If somebody gets a wheel inside you, you're held out wide, and the next driver, if he's close enough, can follow through. Well, Morrow may well have used one of his extra squirts of boost there on his turbocharged Audi engine. There's a button on the left of the steering wheel that overrides the turbo limiter. You can use it 3 times in a race to give you an extra spurt of 30 horsepower for a 5-second duration, and that's been designed into the cars to allow for that extra little bit of power to help an overtaking manoeuvre, to help a rival close perhaps as they get to a braking area. The big question, of course, though, is when do you use them? Do you make use of them early, get as far up the field as you can, and then hope that your rivals don't have any left when it comes to the cut and thrust of the last lap or two? Or do you save them until the field has been whittled down a little bit by incidents and accidents and try and make best use of them in the closing stages? It's all a tactical game, as every race is, but this adds a little bit of extra intrigue. Nose wing bent up on the front of Justin Keen's car there. He's being pressed hard by Shinya Nakazawa. The Japanese looks inside at McLaren. Oh, and there's contact. Nakazawa loses his nose, and Keen loses any chance, I think, of staying in the race. Does he? No. Well, he manages to rally across his way out of the gravel traps just, but I think he's going into the pit lane. He is. His race is effectively over there. Nakazawa trailing bits of car around the circuit. He must be able to hear that. He must realistically know that his race is over, but there's nothing he can do until he can get back into the pits at the end of the next lap. Riding again then with the leader, looking back from Topi Sergula's car. Started on pole position and twice has now made a break in the race. Black and orange flag being held out on the start line, and I'm sure that's for Shinya Nakazawa. It'll have the car number alongside it that it's referring to. That flag means we've spotted something wrong with your car you may not be aware of. Well, I'm sure he can hear the noise of the aluminium front wing being ground along underneath the car, so he's well aware of it, but it looks as though he's pressing on. Let's look back here. He dives down the inside through McLaren, and there's just not the room there. Justin Keen tries to stay on the racing line, or as close to it as he can, and as a result, 2 cars, 1 piece of tarmac, and the fairly inevitable conclusion. Ed Moore here, Mats Gisselbeck behind him, the Danish driver, and this is a close tussle. Once more battling all the way down the field. They're fighting here over 12th place. They've got Australia's Stephen White behind them. Gisselbeck racing in a spare chassis, one of the spares in the championship. His own car destroyed in a spectacular roll the previous week at Donington Park. Makes a move down the inside of Ed Moore, but there's a contact, there's a spin, there's something very strange in the front of Gisselbeck's car. On the right-hand side was sticking up in the air, and it looks as though it's somebody's nose wing. Well, maybe that is the nose wing of Shinya Nakazawa's car that he's picked up somewhere. Quite how it got into the front of his car remains to be seen. Riding with Giuliano Morrow, he's still in 4th place, chasing fellow Brazilian Felipe Malui in 3rd. Malui qualified 5th, so he's done a good job to work himself up into a podium place here. And still leading, Topi Sergula of Finland. 2nd place, Damien Faulkner of Ireland. Mats Gisselbeck there, coming out of the car number 19, and Ed Moore, another unfortunate race for the West Countryman. So here comes Topi Sergula across the line, and the checkered flag is out early. So the race organisers seem to have brought the race to a halt early because of the cars stranded on the outside at Druids. The fact that they would have had to have kept a yellow flag out there probably past the end of the race to rescue those 2 cars. Well, races are normally stopped early with a red flag, but for some reason the checkered flag has been used here. Thumbs up from Giuliano Morrow to his countryman Felipe Malui. Let's have a look down here in the dip after paddock, going up towards Druids, and there is the front wing getting jammed into the suspension and lifting the inside front wheel off the ground. No wonder Max Gisselbeck came up there inside Ed Moore completely out of control. Not a driver error. Well, bad luck for those two, but good luck for Topi Sergula, Damien Faulkner, Felipe Malui, the podium finishes, and Sergula leading the championship.